Hello, I'm Tom Robinson, CHSAA's Officials Liaison. I work with all the officials in the Colorado High School Activities Association, and I'm looking forward to working with you in another great season of Colorado high school basketball. There's a lot of things going on with officiating, not only in Colorado, but also across the nation. As you know, there is a very serious shortage of officials. So I would be remiss if I did not talk about recruiting and retention of officials to you, a group of basketball officials. That said, though, I want to thank you for signing up for the 2019-2020 season, basketball season, to officiate. There is no question that we need you. There's no question. I want to thank you for your commitment to officiating this season and all of its prospects. Let's talk about retention first of all. There are four major reasons why officials are leaving the ranks of officiating. The first one is pay, and that's really in a most recent study. These first four items come out. But the first thing is pay, and there is no question that pay is an issue in Colorado high school sports. We know that Colorado is at the bottom, but we're trying to do something about that, and our schools are really committed. Some of them have issues with their districts and budgets, but they really are trying to understand the necessity of having officials work our games and what that means and what they have to do. So know that that's happening. If you're not aware, we know you know that we've gone from the fees for three-person officiating, which we do in most of all of our games, to two, which is a significant increase. I think it's a $6 increase if we're doing the math, which is really significant to our schools, and that's for this season. Also, in terms of travel, the 40 cents a mile fee that you get for travel, right, in some areas was not being paid, and we're trying to address that as well. So you have to let me know if that's not happening. But please understand what happens with that 40 cents a mile and how that plays out. It's really it's an expectation of from our schools that officials travel in carpools. Now sometimes that doesn't work, right? Sometimes officials are coming from different areas or they're coming from out of area, and that just does not work. But in most cases, that's the assumption. All right, so please let me know if that's not happening. There were some areas in the state where they were really deficient in making that happen and making some assumptions, and really that had a lot to do with this attrition of officials, of not being paid correctly. So let me know if that's not happening in your area, but please understand the requirements of that as well and what that expectation is. The another bullet is, and call it number two, is fan behavior. Now we know fan behavior is a problem. It's a problem all over the country, and every day we hear some horrendous stories about what fans are doing or what coaches are doing. You know, when I first started as the officials liaison, if someone asked me about sportsmanship, I would say that it was pretty good in Colorado high school sports, and I still think that's the case. But there are issues, and there are issues that we must address, and so we're trying to change that culture within our schools, within our fans, within our coaches, within our administrators, and we're making some headway. So we did some things last year where we had officials appreciation days, and I think that works with that culture, that changes that whole mindset of an official, and I think that's very, very important. But we're also trying to do many more things. So our schools have committed, and this is a poster that goes in each of our schools. It's not mandatory, but we're expecting in all of our schools to have these state posted someplace. Please check it out and see if it's there. Let me know if it's not, and I'll make sure the schools know that you know it's not there. But this is a venue expectation poster, and it's really about and primarily about the respect for officials, right? Coaches, players, and one another. and we want that to happen. So this is a contract. So if a fan comes into the venue, this is that expectation. All right, cheer for their team, no foul language, and no taunting in any form. And if that happens, and it's egregious, then that fan's going to get carded, just like they do in soccer, right, and ejected from the contest if it's egregious. So just know that our schools are really trying to step it up and trying to make an impact on fan behavior. The third thing is really this notion that of getting the big game and being assigned appropriately. And we know that, not everybody can have the big game, whether it's regular season or postseason, but we really are trying to let our assigners know that in a lot of instances, they are the reason for officials leaving the ranks, and they need to change their behavior and their process as well. So we're trying to make some headway. I know with postseason, with our committee and how that works in basketball, that I think we're doing a pretty good job. It doesn't always translate for some in terms of being able to get those games, but really it is a fair process, and we're really trying to keep good officials in, right? Let them sit out a part of the season when it's fair, and then bring somebody else in, and that seems to be what's happening. And that's happening not only with males, but also females. And we're trying to make sure that we do the right thing for all officials that are officiating in our association. So that's another area in which we're trying to have an impact. The fourth thing is, and really I don't know if there's anything we can do about this, and that's time commitment and family. I don't quite know how to handle that. I know in some areas of our association with officiating, we're cutting back on requirements because that takes a lot of time, a lot of test time. But maybe in terms of IABO and what they're doing a master clinic online, and so we're giving back your time. So we're really paying attention to who you are and what you do and why you do it, and why you might be leaving the ranks as well. So those four areas: pay, fan behavior, right, assigning dysfunction, right, and time commitment and family. So we're trying to make some headway there. In terms of recruiting, think about this. One of the questions we asked on the exit interview was this: that how did you get into officiating? And I know for me, and it probably is for most of you, that it was a mentor. And that mentor was the one that brought us into this great avocation. I'm still officiating. Every weekend I pinch myself in terms of where I am relative to this game that I love. And I think it's the same for you. I believe it is, because I think that's how most of us got into this profession. So just think about it. If you get one official into the system, all of the basketball officials, then we double our ranks. Now I know that's simple math, and it's easier said than done, but that's a reality. One of the other questions that was on that exit interview was this, right? Would you ask someone to officiate? And it was alarming that a number of those in the exit interview said no. So they really were giving us some information, and they were disgruntled if that's the way they left. But I would say that if you're trying to get a mentor, and the reasons why you're trying to tell them to come into the system, just tell them that it's for the love of the game. All right, that's the answer in the end. None of us have gotten rich in high school officiating. Maybe at the higher ranks, but not in high school officiating. So please tell them that the reason you want them to come in the officiating ranks is because you want them to benefit from the same things you have, right? The love of the game. So make sure that you do that. And I plead with you to do both of those. Mentor someone in, and then tell them you really love the game, because it really is a great avocation. The last thing I want to talk about, and it's with you, is that what your expectations are. And I think we're going to make sure that fans know what is expected of them. We're going to talk to coaches about that, and we continue to do that. But what is expected of officials? We really do. And I spend I spend an enormous amount of time in my football rule book. I mean, I'm doing it every day to the point where I'm thinking I'm never going to learn the rules. But you have to be impeccable with the rules. You just have to be. That is critical to what you do. And you have to be a great communicator. You have to be able to talk to coaches, even when it's tough, even when you kicked a call or not. You got to be able to talk to them, or you got to be able to listen if you don't know what to say. But you have to know what to do. And we can't run away from those situations. So great communicators. We have to be great game managers. We just do. And we have to use common sense around that as well. And there's a lot of things we can do in that area, and a lot of things we can learn. But we have to be very, very good game managers. So if we do those things, we will know what is expected of us in terms of how we need to operate as well. And there is an expectation of officials as well. So that's really all I want to say here. I think it's important around what really is happening across the country, how we need to stem this tide. There's probably some things at work that we really have no control over, but because it is the games that are played are so great, and when we officiate them, we have so much fun with them. We really have to kind of keep this profession moving along along the right track. The last note that I would like to talk about is this, and it's kind of related to all the things that we're doing and expectations, and that's the mandatory coach officials meetings. When you conduct those meetings, in which every coach has to attend one, it's a chance to have a great audience there of the people that really impact the game, the official and the coach. The better the relationship can be between the official and the coach, the more we can change this culture. We can change it, okay? But that's where it starts. Okay, those mandatory coach officials meetings, in my mind, are not about rules. We say rules meeting, and I need to change that name. Okay, because really there's going to be maybe one rule that we need to talk about, and that's what we do, and we take 10 minutes. That's really a waste of time. Those mandatory coach officials meetings were designed to be 45 minutes to an hour long, and those meetings were about officials and coaches coming together to talk about each other's expectation. So when you have those meetings, set up a panel with coaches, do something different, but make sure you have that conversation with them about what their expectation is, and I'm talking about coaches, and then what yours is. And maybe you don't come out of there with a total agreement, but at least we all know what I expect as an official, and then what the coach expects as well. So make sure that happens, and make sure you spend the time needed to do that. And so with that said, I really I'm excited about the upcoming season. I love basketball. I love watching it. I love the end of the season when we're vying for championships, and then seeing good officials rise to the top and do what they do and do it well. So I'm looking forward to that season and working with you in that capacity. So again, I want to thank you for what you do, because without you, the games are not played.